It's the game of the year, part 2. Number 7 Indiana visiting Autzen Stadium to take on the number 3 Oregon Ducks. Both of these teams come in at 5-0, and Oregon is a 7.5-point favorite as of now. This game opened up at 10.5. College game day is going to be in the building in UG. This is a 12:30 Pacific time kick, 3:30 Eastern, and it will be on CBS. And for both of these teams, this is a resume game. Oregon is ranked number 3. They are rested coming off a bye. Indiana's coming off a bye, and Indiana is number 7 as well. Undefeated start, and this is a quarterback battle because both of them are playing mistake-free ball. Now, before we get into the details, gotta let you know I'm George Wrighster, NFL player, college football analyst over at CW. Thanks for coming on the show. We're gonna start where we always start, coach versus coach. We got Curt Cignetti over there at Indiana, and we got Dan Lanning at the Oregon Ducks. Now, I thought that Curt Cignetti would have had a bowl-eligible reset year in terms of Indiana would be good, but they would not be as great as they are so far and smashing Illinois, who I believe is going to the college football playoff. But Indiana is already, after 5 games, 1 game away from bowl eligibility. And for a second year in a row, they have delivered a Big Ten beatdown so bad that you would either have to be a sadist or a masochist to watch the second half of that game. So how Illinois survived to go on and win their next 2 Big Ten games is actually a testament to Brett Bielema, their head coach. But what Indiana did to Nebraska last year, it made the Cornhuskers fall apart for literally the month following that game. Now, I don't understand how anybody hates Curt Cignetti. I don't understand how they hate his confidence, especially if you like it from a guy like Diego Pavia. And this is a man who has worked his way up the coaching ranks, was coaching at Alabama, took a huge pay cut to go down multiple levels to build himself back up. That is the American dream. And when you're a program like Indiana that historically stinks, you need somebody leading you that has irrational belief and work ethic to match. And that's exactly what Curt Cignetti has. It's like that, having the faith of a mustard seed. And now Indiana is moving mountains. Now on the Oregon side, you got Dan Lanning, because he has the same level of confidence in his guys in Eugene. Now, it comes out in the pregame speeches, whether it's in front of the press or not in front of the press. He delivers the confidence to his team. And you have to wonder if the confidence just comes from the level of preparation that his guys put in and knowing what it looks like to have a championship level team, because both of these coaches that they have cut their teeth in the SEC when the SEC was the best conference in college football. And Cignetti has the seniority in terms of his time under Nick Saban with 4 years to Dan Lanning's 1. But then Lanning actually spent more time coaching in the SEC overall. When you combine his time under Saban, Saban's apostle and the best coach of college football right now, Kirby Smart. Now, it is a weird fact about coaching in this matchup that Dan Lanning is that he was actually a GA at Pitt when Indiana OC Mike Shanahan was the second leading wide receiver there back in 2011. Fun fact, because Lanning is now 11-6 against AP top 10 teams in his Oregon tenure, while Curt Cignetti is 0-2. But Lanning has to be careful to paint this as just another game against a top 10 team if Curt Cignetti is behind closed doors talking about this game like it's the Super Bowl. Now, Dan Lanning acknowledges big games, but he also says it is Oregon versus Oregon. It is the standard versus the standard. That's it. So now let's look at the players in this game, the quarterbacks in particular, because these dudes are playing absolute great ball. Quarterback versus quarterback. Dante Moore versus Fernando Mendoza. Now, Mendoza comes into this game. Well, actually, both of these quarterbacks, really, they come into this game having combined for 30 touchdowns and 2 interceptions through 5 games. Mendoza's 89 for 122, 73% of his passes, 1,200 yards, 16 touchdowns, and a pick. Dante Moore is completing almost 75% of his passes for 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, and only 1 pick. And the question is, just how much has Dante Moore improved since his tenure at UCLA under Will Stein? Now, he could go out against Indiana and go 0 for 52. I'm not joking. 0 for 52 passing and still have a higher completion percentage than he did at UCLA. I tried to tell everybody before this season, Dante Moore, potential Heisman candidate, and that he was going to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football because this Oregon offense is an efficiency-based passing game and efficiency-based offense in general. And if you play with confidence in this system, you are going to complete 3/4 of your passes. And especially if you are talented and make special throws, it is going to be easy because your jersey is going to be kept clean by the offensive line. And then you're going to be hanging out in New York when Heisman season comes around. Now, Moore only had 3 games as a freshman at UCLA where he had a positive net rushing total and then finished the whole season with minus 84 yards that freshman year. Now, in 5 games as Oregon starter, he's averaging 25 yards on the ground per game. And if you don't think that that's impressive, just know that it's twice what Dylan Gabriel provided in 2024 and more than Bo Nix had as a senior. Now, on the other side of things for Indiana, I hated to see Fernando Mendoza leave Cal because, he was a good player and Cal was a team that believed in him coming out of high school. And he was a fan favorite for his big game moments, for his moxie and his positive attitude. Now, was there a more perfect quarterback portal transfer to Indiana than Mendoza? I mean, sure, you could have got John Mateer at Oklahoma, maybe Devin Dampier at Utah, but they followed their offensive coordinators. And Mendoza actually saw what Indiana was doing with Curtis Rourke last year. And then he wisely looked at it and was like, man, this would fit my skill set perfectly as a plug and play, ready to play kind of guy. And Mendoza, with them 16 touchdown passes in 5 games, which is already a huge jump when you consider that he threw 30 touchdown passes in 20 games at Cal. The kid has remained confident, and he is much better in the red zone and then continues to be a threat with his legs. Now, both of these quarterbacks, though, in this matchup, 1 interception apiece in 134 pass attempts for Moore, 122 for Mendoza. So you know that any turnovers in this game are going to have a massive impact. Now, Mendoza, he has played in Autzen Stadium before back in 2023, and it was one of his worst games of the season at Cal. The weather wasn't great, but Oregon had no problem with it. But Mendoza is from Miami. And it wasn't about the use of, wet weather as an excuse. I think that he was rattled by the crowd a little bit. And he'll probably be better composed in his 26th start than he was in his 4th ever start. So the crowd is definitely going to play a factor. It's just a matter of how much. Now let's look at this Oregon offense versus Indiana's defense. Because Indiana's defense has forced 7 interceptions in 5 games. And Moore, only 1 pick. And if Indiana can flip Moore to have 1, maybe 2 turnovers in the game, then the game script could go upside down. And if not, Oregon's efficiency typically snowballs. Now, Indiana, their rush defense has been nasty. It has held its last 4 opponents to 222 yards on 114 attempts. And when you throw away the Kennesaw State and Indiana State games, you still get 94 yards on 51 attempts against the big boys up front from Illinois and Iowa. But to start this season, Old Dominion actually found some holes in this Indiana defense. But the question is, how did they do it, though? Because they've been the only team that's had some success against them. Because their quarterback, Colton Joseph, he pulled the ball late on RPOs, and he did it all by himself. Now, Indiana, they sell out for the running back every single time on tape because they know that most quarterbacks aren't going to run it, and they're not going to want to run it at a high level. And Dante Moore, he better be stretching all this week because he is going to have some opportunities. Now, Oregon's offensive coordinator, Will Stein, and this Oregon attack will look to attack this defense much like they did Penn State. The defensive front on their first drive of the game, and then mix things up with the RPO. And even include a pitch, short pull, keep the Hoosiers, that defense guessing, and then take some shots, whether it's 4th and short, 3rd and short, 2nd and short. Just know that the Ducks are going to keep the offense on the field, and they are going to take some shots because they do not want to play a run and punt game. Because when you play tight games, then things can happen at the end of games. Drop ball, bad call by the ref, and you don't want to put that in their hands. But the big challenge for Dante Moore in this game is going to be sensing the delayed blitzes from Isaiah Jones and Keelan Watt, because Moore is going to need his receivers to hold on to the ball, and they have done a good job of that with the Dekorian Moore. You got Gary Bryant Jr. and McClellan, Florida State transfer as well. They've been very good. But Indiana is very good at leaving the intermediate part of the field open and then depending on pressure to create inaccuracy, and that's Dante Moore's strength. Is accuracy at that point in time, because they'll turn a tip ball or an overthrow into an interception several times if you let them. Now let's look at the Indiana offense versus the Oregon defense, because Indiana's air attack, they are producing. Mendoza has a 197.8 passer rating. Their wide receiver Omar Cooper is absolutely balling, 6 touchdowns. Oregon counters that with one of the stingiest pass defenses in the country. They're allowing just 52% completions and 123 yards per game passing with only 2 touchdowns allowed on the year. That is absolutely elite. Now, the most ironic thing about Indiana's defense, I want to look at Indiana's offense by way of Indiana's defense, because Indiana's offense is the perfect type of unit to solve their defensive puzzle. You can have a quarterback that can pull it in the run game and who is accurate on intermediate routes and can pick apart zones while executing the spread option to near perfection. Now, Indiana, they have a true chain mover at running back in Roman Hemby, who's a good runner. But to win this game, if you are the Oregon Ducks, their defensive coordinator, Tosh Lupoi, he needs to have them disciplined on the edges. He needs to have Mateo Uiagalelei in the right places, Tatum Tuioti, and Bryce Boettcher and the rest of this defense, because Indiana is going to make every single one of your defensive backs fight off of blocks and then make tackles. And they'll even pick and rub. And if the officials aren't calling it, they are going to have some success in short yardage situations. And that's something that you know that Dan Lanning, who does a meticulous job of preparation, is going to be pointing out to the refs. The answer to beating Indiana is getting off the field. And that's really what Oregon does best this year, because they've had 3-and-out plays against the Nittany Lions on the road, and they have a stop rate of 81.4%, which is top 5 in the country. And the team is only allowing an average of 1.12 points per drive. Now, Iowa against Indiana had relative success with their offense by really picking on the right side of Indiana's offensive line, because they are winning individual matchups, overloading, using delayed rushes off the corner. Almost every problem Indiana had offensively against Iowa came because of pressure, and that came from the left side of the Iowa Hawkeyes defense. And when you watch the end of that game, it was a pressure look that Iowa sent and a missed tackle that was the game-winning touchdown for Indiana. And this Oregon coverage unit has allowed just 617 pass yards across 5 games. And the tackling has been a near clinic level. But let's look at the X factors in this game, because in order for Indiana to win this game, they actually might have to get away from the strategy of selling out on the running back in RPO situations and actually send the house after Dante Moore. Because the biggest difference between Dante Moore in 2023 and Dante Moore now is that he is not taking hits behind the line of scrimmage. And the last game that Moore played at UCLA against Cal, dude got sacked 6 times. And if you do that, you risk a few 2nd and 5 situations over 2nd and 9, and Oregon will make you pay in those situations. Because regardless of what the Hoosiers choose to do, 1st and 2nd down defense is going to be everything for Indiana in this game. Now for Oregon, it is going to be their defense. It is going to be their edges, their outside linebackers, and then this secondary, this young secondary starting 2 freshmen at corner. They are going to be tested and they are going to have to come up big, but it all starts with stopping the run. And my prediction in this game, Oregon is favored by 7.5 points. Take the money line. This is a no-doubter. Oregon 38, Indiana 24. Book it. Remember it. Write it down. Take a picture. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, share with a friend, and most importantly, be one of us and keep coming back.